Hello everybody, this is going to be like my first instructional video. I want to talk about the dumbbell row because it's one of the exercises I see people kind of trick themselves into not completing. Not that they're doing it wrong, it's just that I feel like a lot of people can do it better than what I see. Now before I switch sides to using my left arm, I want you to take note about the position of the dumbbell, how it's about at my foot, if not a little bit in front of my foot, and then it goes behind me, behind my leg, to go kind of like at an angle, and it's going to hit the muscle a lot better that way. And when I switch sides, I'll go into a little bit more detail. Alright, right here, you're going to see me bring the dumbbell from directly in front of me, about to where my position, the position of my foot is, to behind where the position of my foot is, closer towards my hip. When I bring it up to my body, it's going to be towards my hip. Now, of course, you see that I'm have both feet planted on the ground. I'm not laying over a bench. I'm actually putting the dumbbell on the floor. I have reasons for that also, which I'll also explain. But first, I want to talk about the way the dumbbell moves and why this is beneficial for the row. I'm going to use these two frames right here. Okay, what I want you to imagine is that there's an imaginary cross on your side, and I want the dumbbell to go from the bottom left to the top right of the cross. I see a lot of people bringing the dumbbell straight up, and they actually trick themselves into not getting this full range of motion. This circular motion is much better. I'm going to let the video play one more time so you have now that you have a visualization of where the dumbbell is traveling, you can kind of understand it better. It goes from in front of you, about where your foot is at, to behind your leg to where your hip is at. And that's not the only thing I want to talk about. The next thing is how far your elbow should go back. This is a screen grab I got off of Scott Herman Fitness's one-arm dumbbell row video, and I want you to take note right here where he stops the top of the contraction for the one-arm dumbbell row. His arm is almost completely parallel with his back, and he's not getting the full rotation using his lat and rear deltoid. Not saying that it's wrong, I just don't feel like it's best. And I think what gets a lot of people here is that when they do the row like this, they're more focused on the contraction in their bicep, and they don't feel that their forearm can move anymore because the bicep is now stopping it. It's contracted all the way. And they get distracted by the actual point of the dumbbell row, which is to work your back, which means your lats and your rear deltoid. So what you really should be focusing on is the rotation of the shoulder and the location of the elbow. I'm going to cycle through some more edited frames here real quick. I want you to see where my shoulder is located at the bottom and the top of the exercise, and this is what I mean. You want that rotation of the shoulder. That's what's important. Now, this is another video I pulled off of YouTube. The reason why I grabbed these videos is because when I typed in one-arm dumbbell row on YouTube, I chose the first few results, which were Scott Herman Fitness, Instructional Fitness right here, and Jim Stepani, which I'm going to use in a second. But in this video, what I like is that he does tell the audience to put the dumbbell like directly in front of the person and to pull it closer back towards the hip, so you kind of have that quarter circle, so you can get that circular range of motion for the rear deltoid, which is very good. But as you can see, when he does the row, he kind of stops just past his back. He doesn't really pull the elbow way behind him like what would be ideal for the row, because you're stopping the range of motion just because you feel that contraction in your bicep. You say your forearm's not really moving forward anymore, so therefore the back can't pull any harder, which just isn't true. You want to get that full range of motion. You want to pull that elbow all the way back. And right here, through these cycles, you'll see Jim Stepani pull his elbow all the way back, because he knows that that rotation of the shoulder is going to pull that elbow way farther back than what the bicep would be capable of doing. The bicep has no role in how far back the elbow goes. It's the lat and the rear deltoid which pulls that motion. And since as I've been saying, the range of motion and the rotation of the shoulder is so important. I also want to emphasize how important it is to pull your scapula, your shoulder blade forward too. At the bottom position, you want your shoulder forward. That way you have a couple more inches for the range of motion. So, like I said, you can see Jim Stoppani pulls his elbow way behind him. Okay, there are two main elements to the point of this video. So far, we've really only discussed the first one, which is the proper range of motion to get the correct lift. You can't trick yourself into not pulling your elbow all the way back and not getting that full circular range of motion for the shoulder. Also, pulling the scapula forward at the bottom so you can get that couple extra inches. All that stuff is very important. This is a really good muscle builder for the back, so you want to make sure you're getting all the benefits from it, which means pulling the scapula forward, pulling the elbow way back, making that cross motion that I told you about from the bottom left to the top right, and making sure the shoulder rotates. All of that is going to give you the proper lift. Now, the second point of this video is what I do differently, which means me being on my feet. I'm sure you've seen plenty of people on their feet doing the row before. I have an actual reason for it. A lot of people just do it because they're more comfortable that way. My reason for doing it is how it hits the muscles differently. Now, if you notice that the leg that I'm using to hold most of my weight up, which from right here would be my right leg, across from where I'm rowing, it's holding most of my weight up, where if you were using a bench, you'd be putting most of your weight on the bench and you'd only be loading your hip a little bit. Right here, I'm pretty much loading my entire posterior chain. And of course, when you're doing the row, you have to stabilize your body. You have to balance your core so your back is pretty much parallel with the floor. So instead of just having leverage in order to brace my core, I'm actually using my posterior chain to stabilize my core. I really feel it in my glutes and my hamstrings to try to keep my back as straight as I can. So I feel like this activates your entire body for stabilization a little bit more than just your core. All right, this is the big one here. This is me putting the dumbbell on the floor. And the reason why I do that is to get a much stronger contraction from the muscle. The muscle contracts a lot harder if you go from relaxed to contract instead of just keeping tension in the muscle. Similar to a deadlift or a Pinley row. Pinley row, you do the same thing. You, instead of doing a bent over row and keeping tension in your lower back, you relax it and then you yank it up to do the row. Same thing you do for a deadlift. This works the same way. That relaxation of the muscle and then the contraction of the muscle repetitively gives a much better workout versus just keeping the tension throughout the entire lift. So in doing it this way, not only is the contraction a lot stronger, I don't keep as much tension on my lower back because I'm already using my lower back to stabilize my core. So I don't have to keep it braced at the bottom of the exercise where I'm getting the stretch. So it saves my lower back some stress in order to do this lift as well. And in addition to all that, because I'm going from that relaxed to contracted state and I'm getting a harder contraction, it also means I'm able to lift a lot faster, which is it's another good way to hit the muscle. You know, speed in the lift helps build more strength, power, and muscle overall. So just all together, doing it this way is better. Anyways, that's it for the one-arm dumbbell row. I really appreciate you guys watching the video, and I'm looking forward to any questions or comments you guys have. Feel free to post them. I love to help people out, and I'm interested in knowing if you guys decide to change your technique because of this video, if I helped you out at all, if I haven't helped you out at all. Like, I would just like to hear your guys' input. Anyways, thanks again. I appreciate it. Oh, and let me know if you guys want any more videos.